Maybe wait a few. Okay, cool. I think we're good now.
Cool.
Oh, I'm so excited. Dark Bleatings, everybody. This isn't so much an author interview today as a creator interview, and I have Jim McLeod, who owns Ginger Nuts of Horror with me. So I'm super excited to get to talk about everything today. Hi, Jim. Thanks for being here.
Hello, great to be here. Finally.
Jim and I have known each other via the internet for quite a while, like a decade.
Oh, at least a decade, yes.
Something like that. And I think we've seen each other on a different Skype thing one time, but neither of us were hosting it, so I don't think we got to talk on. I think it might have been the uh, My Life in Horror handover.
Yes, that's right. Yes, it was, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we've been pals a long time, and we haven't actually ever got to have a face-to-face conversation. So I'm really excited.
So am I.
Um, so I'm sure that everyone watching or listening to this will have heard of Ginger Nuts of Horror. But Jim, for anyone who has somehow magically never come across it, do you want to talk a little bit about what the site is?
It's basically just a horror review site. We do books, videos, especially films, comics, basically anything horror related. We'll review it, feature it, promote it, and do our best to actually try and get some sales for authors and filmmakers, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great, it's really popular. I think it's the most visited horror review site in the UK. Last I checked.
Yes, probably Europe as well now. I'm sort of slowly but surely trying to take over the world.
Yeah, it's where I got my start writing reviews and articles as well, because when I was new to indie horror, I didn't know there was an indie horror scene, and I don't remember how I even came across Ginger Nuts. But I do know that you were the first person that gave me somewhere to write reviews, and
Mhm.
I had my own article series with you for a while, called Challenge Kaylee. That was really fun. Um, and I think a lot of people that are in the indie horror space have that kind of start as well. I know lots of people first got to write reviews and articles for you, and you do platform a lot of different creators. Um, how did Ginger start there? When did you start it, and what did you start with?
Well, sort of proto beginning was on. It was in the days of forum. I mean, I can't even remember if social media was a thing then. It was called the British Horror Novels Forum. It was places like Dave Jeffrey, Willie Meikle, Adrian Chamberlain, lots of authors like that. It was basically just a place where we would sit and chat. And I was signed off work for 3 months after having a wrist fusion and bone transplant in my hand. And I just started, it was Willie Meikle says, why don't you just, for a bit of fun, why don't you do this sort of non-stop rolling interview where everybody could join in on any question, leave at any time. And that went on for a couple of weeks. And Willie suggested, why don't you set up your own site? So I did. I never thought anything was going to come off it. It was basically just something to do while I was off work. And here's now what, 16 years later. Never would have imagined that it's turned into this monster that it is now.
Yeah, it's huge, and lots of contributors, lots of really great content, loads of book reviews, and so much indie author promotion that I know everybody really appreciates, because it's so hard to get book reviews and promotion,
Mhm.
especially if you're not able to pay for it. I know there are paid services you can use. I don't know how effective they are, but yeah, anything. I think everything that I've worked on has appeared on Ginger Nuts of Horror over time, and it's where I found a lot of my favorite indie authors as well. Reading other people's reviews on there, and articles written by people who's like, I was like, who wrote this article? This is really great. I'd love to, find more. When did it start expanding? Like, how long was it running, do you think, before you started taking collaborators?
I mean, my memory is terrible. I think about 5 years. I think I got to the point where I realized I actually couldn't keep up with it. And I was getting that many review requests in that I thought there's just no way in hell. So I must have put out, I mean, this is terrible. I should actually know my own history, but I don't. I must have put out a call on Facebook or something at that time asking for people if they wanted to contribute. And thankfully, over the years, I've got a funny feeling I must be pushing about the hundreds that people have. And that's been one of the biggest joys of running the site, is seeing people come in, do it for a couple of months, a couple of years, and then things take off for themselves and they go off and they do their own thing. You kind of feel in a way like a parent, and your kids are finding their feet and they're going out in the big wide world and making a name for themselves. I mean, nothing brings me more joy as seeing people who've been part of I like to call it a family rather than a team, getting their own success. It's brilliant. It's what the site was set up for. It was to promote people in horror and hopefully do some good in these sort of dark, horrible times that just seem to be getting worse and worse.
It is. It's a hub of positivity and inspiration for me. And I think a lot of people, you've given people space to be really creative with non-fiction projects as well. And Kit Power's My Life in Horror series is the first one that comes to mind for me. I think everybody really enjoyed that. It was such a good idea. And for anyone who hasn't come across any of Kit's My Life in Horror, he was just writing articles about the things through the course of his early life and into his adulthood that got him into the horror genre. And a lot of the topics were really unexpected things. Like, it wasn't all just, oh, I liked this film as a kid. He talked about bands. And then he hit the number of pieces that he wanted to write for it, didn't he? And then handed it over to George Daniel Lee.
Yeah.
In one of the greatest handovers of all time, it has to be said.
That was pretty brilliant. I was so proud and honoured to be a part of that. That was a brilliant piece of. I mean, Kit's amazing when it comes to the sort of gonzo marketing of himself. The whole last thing with Millionaires Day, that was just amazing, and yeah, that was brilliant fun.
Yeah, it was. I can imagine it must be great for you to take people on the site and then see how they develop over time.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been a few people who've joined the family who I wish had never set foot in the door, and it's when you find out that they're, especially when their politics don't align with yours, and you decide to kick them from the site, and then you get attacked left, right, and centre by all these sad, racist, horrible Nazi scumbags. But you know what? I'll take it on the chin. I would rather do the right thing than put a platform for someone whose politics I find absolutely abhorrent.
Yeah, well, it's not only just a matter of politics anymore these days, is it? It's a difference in your ethical principles and morals, and
it's not the good old days of whether you voted for Labour or Tory. It's now whether or not you vote for the right person or someone who's going to basically just take the rights of people who you actually love and care for away from them.
Yeah, I wouldn't take, like, if I had other people writing for the site and then I found out that someone was really homophobic or something, for example, I would have to get rid of them immediately, because I wouldn't want my site to be associated with, yeah. Do you have a favorite part of your own site?
That's a hard question, because no matter how I answer, you feel as though you're going to upset somebody.
Well, let's just assume that you love them all.
Yes, I do love them all. For different reasons, like Tony Jones's Youngblood Library. I love that for the fact that we're showcasing young adult and middle grade horror, and it's been cited in so many places as like the go-to place to get kids interested in reading horror and taking that first step to discovering this amazing genre. So yeah, that's a fantastic piece of the site. George Daniel Lee's stuff's always amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the sort of latest contributors, Kit Whitfield, she's sort of been doing this thing called What's on Shudder, and taking a massive deep dive into the horror films that are on Shudder, and taking it in a direction that you would never ever think of. These aren't just film reviews; these are like, you know, looking at representation of disability, feminism in the films. It's wow. I sit there and read and go, well, yeah. I'm at the point now where I feel like, you know, I'm the almost surplus to requirement, and I look at all these people who are far better writers than I will ever be, producing stuff that's like, wow, I could never hope to even think about creating anything as comprehensive, intelligent, and thoughtful as that. But
that's the joy of getting to build a team, though, because everyone has different strengths and ideas. And I love George. I think I must have said it about 1,000 times on the internet now. I just absolutely love George and everything he does. And he has such a way with words, and he's so enthusiastic about the stuff he loves that he's just a joy to read, listen to, talk to. And I remember when my first collection came out, and it's out of print, sadly, because Sinister Horror Company are no more. And I believe it was Tony Jones that reviewed it, and I was so flattered, because Tony Jones was my favorite reviewer. And I didn't know anyone. I don't think I asked anyone on Ginger Nuts to review it, because I was still writing for the site then, and I didn't want people to feel obligated. So I was surprised to see it when it came up. And it's being featured on Ginger Nuts of Horror is a big deal to me, and I find it really flattering and exciting if it happens. And it's such a great website, and a great group of people to get to be involved with. And I even though I haven't I stopped writing for Ginger Nuts just because life overtook everything for me at one point.
I absolutely get that. I mean, I went through a period where I think it was 6 months and I didn't write a single thing, because I couldn't read, I couldn't focus, I couldn't do anything. But as thankfully we still had the rest of the family to keep the site going. Otherwise, yeah, because then you get in this sort of downward spiral. You know, you want to do something but you can't, and then you feel worse about not doing it. And it took me a while to get out of that cycle. I think it was just life in general just got me down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard when you're the head of a thing as well. And I struggled with this with Happy Goat, because I get a lot of review requests, and I'm the only one. I do have somebody writing articles now, but I'm the only person reviewing books now. And I did start with, I had 2 other readers initially, but they quickly disappeared. So all of the book reviews come down on me, and I feel like this obligation to review every single thing that comes in. And as a result, I forever have a to-do list of books. And I was wondering if when you were running things by yourself, did you put pressure on yourself like that as well, to try and accommodate everything?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, there was days I was getting up at like 3 o'clock in the morning just to do stuff for the website before I go to work or stuff, and you burn yourself out. The thing is, the way I look at it is, you can't review everything, much as you like to. You can't. Even with the team of reviewers we've got an old-fashioned forum that I use to host all the review requests, and there's hundreds of books there, and they'll never get reviewed. But I've always had this strong, not always, it took me a while, because then I started to feel guilty, because people would send me books and I know I would never read them. So I now have a strict policy where I don't want to receive a copy, even an e-copy of a book, until I know someone is going to review it, because you feel guilty. You know, if you're in this business, you know how tight margins are for authors and publishers, and they can't afford to be sending out review copies that are just never going to get looked at.
Yeah, I generally don't take physical copies off people. unless it's a press that I regularly read anyway, and it's coming straight from a publisher. But because I am an indie author, I understand the perils and the pains of sending out physical copies at the because it costs you to do that. So I try not to take physical copies most of the time. But yeah, I feel I never tell anyone I can't review something, but I tell people now, don't expect any sort of time frame, because my TBR is about 2 years long now, and I'm like, rest assured I will get to it. Not in a timely fashion though.
No. I mean, I used to have a bookshelf right above my my office desk. It's not even an office, it's basically jabbed back next to the dog's crates. But and it would just stare at me guilty every single day. So I've just converted that into a sort of like my favorite bookshelf, if you know what I mean. Because yeah, I'm one of these people that the more guilt I feel, the less work I do.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
and I guess you must feel this a lot as well, because the site's been running for so long, and you've met so many people like that and formed friendships with a lot of authors. So when you get in review requests from people I bet you must think, oh God, I hope someone on the team takes this, because I really want to support, you want to support the author, but you can't possibly, cover everybody. And I bet you must get so many review requests. I can't even imagine.
I think it probably averages out about 40, 50 a week. It's So I mean, the thing is, there was a few months ago an author complained about how my reply was so impersonal, but when I get that many requests, and I can't afford to sit down and think about a nice polite reply, so I've just created a standard sort of boilerplate reply that I just have to click the button in the email account that I use, pops it in. It's got all the links to talks about how we can't we'll take the book for review, can't guarantee a review, but here's all the other ways we can promote your book for free on the website. So links to interviews and all the sort of feature columns that we run. And I'm thinking, well, what do you expect? I mean, there's only so many hours in the day. I can't spend all that time writing a whole, thank you, Joe Blogs, for this all wonderful. We really like the sound of your book, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I couldn't believe that person started to complain. So me being me, that person's book got taken off the review list. But
yeah, well,
it sounds awful, but sometimes you have to be a bit arrogant and pig-headed when it comes to it, because otherwise people just start taking advantage of you.
Well, I don't think it's arrogant to, so this wasn't in my capacity as a reviewer, but I co-edited an anthology for a press that I work for, and I was the one who had to send out all the rejection emails, because that was what we decided when we split the workload. And so I had to send out a fairly standard rejection form, because we had hundreds to go through. And I did take the time with the people that made it into the top so many stories. I let them know that they made it to the final round or whatever, because I like to hear that as an author. I like to know, oh, you made it into the top 50 out of 1,000 or whatever. And somebody took to Facebook and complained about it. And I thought, don't take it personally, but also I did a little bit, because I thought, well, it took me hours, even with a form rejection, to reply to everybody, and you were one of the people that I took the time to personalize it and write your own. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, I'm sure this is just someone's frustrated. Maybe some people do find it more frustrating to know, oh, I just missed it. But I just thought, I always think that taking to Facebook to complain about people who you wanted something from is not a good look.
No, it's not. But you'll be surprised at how many people actually do it. It's quite frightening. Especially when it comes to reviews, because I do it for free. It's my own time. I've sunk more money into this website than I actually care to think about. There's a reason why I cancelled a credit card, because I was using it to pay for everything to do the website, and it's like, oh, this is getting a bit scary right now. But I suppose it's just like any other hobby, if you look at it like that. If I played golf, I'd spend a fortune on buying golf clubs and paying to play a round of golf each week. So Yeah, it's frustrating that it costs a lot of money, but yeah, you know, I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, it's. I think that's something. That's a good point. I don't think a lot of authors that are submitting reviews actually realize that. I think people assume that if there's a website, somehow the person running the website is making a profit from the like it costs me money to run Happy Goat Horror because of like web hosting fees and things, and
Yeah.
I don't make any money through the site at all. So if somebody's chasing me up or nagging me or something about when I've told them I can't give you a time frame, but I'll add this to the review list, and then I once had someone email me 5 days later saying, "Oh, when's the review going up?" And I was like, "Dude, I told you that they were 50 books ahead of yours in my queue. How fast do you think I read?" And I. I'm having to be a bit. I think I've discovered I'm a bit of a people pleaser because I do not like saying no to people, and I don't like telling people to back off, but I've had to be a bit more ruthless. I've stipulated now on my review policy, please do not chase me up asking me about if I've read your book yet, because
Yeah.
just puts pressure on me, and it puts me off. It puts me off accepting any other books from that author again because I'll expect to be sort of pestered about it, and I'm thinking, well, I'm doing this. This is a favor. It's my hobby, but also I'm doing
Yeah.
you a favor. So
Yeah, I mean, I've got a line pretty much. I think it's something like, you know, no further communication will be entered
Mhm.
until I have a reviewer lined up for your book. It's that simple, and the amount of people that ignore that. And there was an author who emailed me every week for 3 months, and it's like, at what point? I'm not, and I never replied to it. Says, at what point do you give up? I mean, they were pretty tenacious, but and the thing is, I'm one of these people that the more someone bugs me, the more I dig my heels in. That's my worst, one of my many failings is I'm a fantastically brilliant heel digger. And the more you annoy me, the more I will just go out of my way to not respond.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, but you are a human person, and even if, like, even though you know, ginger nuts is it's a hobby, as you call it, it's something you enjoy. It becomes less enjoyable when people are hounding you. So,
Yeah. I mean, it was like the other day, I noticed someone on Facebook had said they were shutting doing, I think it was like author of the week or author of the month because authors weren't replying. I said they'll do an interview with them, but they were never sending anything in. And I mentioned how I find that very frustrating because there's an apathy because every review request that gets past the initial sort of screening process, because I mean there's some books that just, you know, they're just not going to get a good review, so they don't even get a reply. It sounds awful, but I would rather be honest than have them sitting there thinking, okay, they've accepted my book, when's the review coming?
mhm.
And it lists everything that we can do to help them promote their book for free. And someone replied to the comment about this person stopping doing the author interviews. Well, it's because authors are fed up getting ripped off. And I replied, how the hell am I ripping off people? You know, I'm not charging anything. It's all done on my time. Because, but, you know, people get ripped off. I'm going, okay, right, okay. You're an author that's certainly never getting touched by me. It just, oh, it frustrates me that people are always looking to blame somebody else for not being able to make it as a writer in any way. And I will do anything. I mean, I'm on social media and I always say, you know, anybody who wants anything retweeted or skeeted or whatever the hell you call it on Blue Sky, because I've come off Twitter completely, feel free to tag me or drop me a DM. And yeah, there's still people out there who seem to think that I'm just in this for myself. And trust me, if I was in this for myself, I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, it's an enormous amount of hours that you put into the site, even with a team of contributors and things. And because even with a team, you're still the person, even if you weren't writing anything, you're still having to upload, format, present, post. It's yeah, it's a lot of I don't want to say work, but it is a lot of work that goes into it. You would never have built the site to what it is if you weren't passionate and putting so much time into it. And it shows, like the love of horror really shows through the website.
Thank you.
Um, I was speaking to someone recently about a US promotional campaign for a book, and the question came up of like, what's the American equivalent of Ginger Nuts of Horror? We were all just sat there stumped, like, is there a site like that that's known? I know America's a bigger place than here, but still, and we were thinking and thinking, and I was like, I can't think of, like, I follow quite a lot of review sites as well, obviously because I'm asking for review requests, per review requests, that stuff. I do follow quite a lot of review blogs. I couldn't think of something that's like yours, because yours feels kind of like a UK like home, like hub for horror stuff. And I still very much feel part of the Ginger Nuts family, even though I'm.
Or you never get to leave, Kaylee. Trust me, it's part of the family.
It's yeah, it's a really nice group to be a part of. I met people through Ginger Nuts as well. I'm pretty sure that that's how I met Kit Power, who's a friend, and I've had a lovely friendship with him for years now. And I knew George because of the handover for Ginger Nuts and everything. And yeah, it's just it feels like such a pal's place.
Yeah, I mean, there has been fallings out. There's people who were friends who did things that really kind of upset me, and now no longer speak to them. And one of the reasons why I don't do a lot of conventions anymore is because when I know they're going to be there, I just don't really want to be around them. But it's less than 1%. It's a great family. They're brilliant people. I've always had this open door policy. I've never got, there's some websites I know you demand, one article a week, one a month. Mm-hmm. I'm happy if I get one every 20 years. It's, I know more than anybody else how real life gets in the way, and how you could wake up, you could go to bed really happy in a fantastic place, and then wake up the next morning to having just slept, nothing else has happened, and then suddenly, your day's over. It's ruined. Your brain's just decided to attack you, and you get nothing done. So I have never really had any expectation of commitment to sending stuff into the site. I'll take what I get, and I'm happy with what I get.
Well, I was going to say that that's what made you a great editor for me to write for, because I never felt under pressure to get things in on a certain time frame and stuff, unless I said, oh, I want to do one of these every 3 weeks or something, and then I put myself on a time frame. But you never got in touch with me like, hey, so where's this thing I'm waiting on? And that's another reason why it was such a pleasure to be involved with the site, because I wrote at the same time that I wrote for Ginger Nuts. Shortly after I started writing for you, I don't want to say the website because I like the website and I like the website editor, but I was asked to write a completely different type of content for this other site, so I started doing that. And then I started working at Pontins, a holiday park, around this time, and we didn't have internet in we lived on site in chalets, and we didn't have internet there, so I only had internet backstage at work in the venue. So I wrote a whole bunch of stuff for the site, and I said, oh, could you post, I've done like 2 months worth of stuff, can you maybe like post one a week of these, so I can just I'm trying to keep my writing, like my name afloat, because I'm so busy now.
Uh-huh.
And they posted everything within 2 days, like 10 a day, and then asked me if I could send more. And I was like, you're not paying me, and also you said I could do this on my little series on my time frame. So I was like, I can't write for this site because I can't send stuff in batch or what. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, what I find unbelievable is the person obviously has no idea on how to run a website, unless you're a big proper magazine site like Fangoria or Bloody Disgusting, that is basically like a daily print magazine that you get through your door. I've always believed that if you post more than 2 articles a day, you're diluting the impact of every article. And ideally, I don't ever post one article a day, but there's that, you have a backlog of reviews, and now you've got a backlog of reviews to be published. And you just feel as though like, what do I do? But I try and limit it to 2 a day. Doing something like that it defies all logic.
Yeah, it was just, I just felt like, I don't know what happened with the communication, but something went wrong for me with it. I really like this editor. It's not like a personal thing. It was just, I was like, oh, I can't keep up with, like, if there's a demand on things from me, especially because I was, when you work at a holiday park, you're on split shift, so you could start at 7:30 in the morning and not finish until 4 a.m. if you're on the disco shift at the end. And you just, like, half the time, if you've got like an hour or two between your events, you don't even bother going back to your little apartment, your little chalet, because there's no, you may as well just stay backstage. So I was particularly stressed working there, but I was still able to turn in my challenge Kayleys for you, for example, because I could do it. I was doing it on my own time, so I was still able to do it. Do you have other favorite websites? You just mentioned Fangoria, like other sites that you like to read content from?
My sort of daily ones are, I check out Run Along the Shelves by Matthew Carpenter, I want to say. I'm terrible with folks' names, so Matthew, if I've got your name wrong, please forgive me. Fantasy Book Nerd, the Fantasy Book Critic. I've also got a terrible memory for Char's Horror Corner.
Yeah.
I mean, the sad thing is there's so many horror websites that are independent are just shutting down all the time. It used to be a rich, wonderful playing field, and now there's very little. I mean, even This Is Horror, basically, I've just sort of stick to doing their podcast. Their website doesn't really seem to get updated that much, other than sort of the best articles of the week from other websites, which is amazing, and to feature on that is a great honor. But yeah, I mean, things. I know I fart about on social media a lot, but that just seems, that's a way for me to just switch my brain off and not think about work, life, the website and stuff like that. But I don't really have that much time to read other websites, but they're the ones that I check all the time. Yeah.
I read all of those as well. And I've noticed the decline in numbers for review sites and blogs and things, especially for horror, because I'm sending out review quests on a semi-regular basis. I have a list of like all of the blogs that I read, all the ones I follow and I like to keep up with, and so I always send requests to them. And I've noticed in the last 2 years the number that have just disappeared, where you go to the domain and they're not there anymore, or the last time they posted anything was 2 years ago, and it's such a shame. But it's again, most people aren't making money from their websites and their blogs, so it's, if your life gets hectic and something has to go, it has to be something like that, unfortunately. What's your do you have a favorite thing that or something, what's your favorite thing that you have got out of running Ginger Nuts of Horror, do you think?
Apart from seeing, people like Kit George and all that getting all this great success, and like Justin Park getting the right spot to one of his books based on a review from the website alone, that was I couldn't believe that made me so happy. It's a sense of friendship and community that you build. I love the fact that the very first time I went to FCon, which was in York 10, 12 years ago, maybe, everybody knew who I was before I'd even introduced myself. That was such an amazing feeling. And the thing is, I didn't really want to meet anyone straight away because our train journey down was quite fun. I got on Edinburgh, and the some local rugby team who were going away for a weekend away got on, and they all sat down at the tables next to me, all plonked down, 6-pack, 12 packs of beers, and thought, there, we're getting drunk. And I thought, well, I've got a bottle of Southern Comfort. I'm not sitting here with 20 rugby players getting drunk and I'm stone cold sober. So yeah, by the time I got off that train, I was barely standing. I thought I need to go and sober up before I start meeting people. And I don't even think I got out the train station until before someone actually recognised who I was. So yeah, that was brilliant. And just stuff like, I mean, Christ, I got to interview Joe Dante a few years for Digging Up the X, which was amazing. Interviewed Ginger Wildheart from the Wild Hearts. Just, hell, Christ, if it wasn't for the website, I wouldn't have interviewed Joe Hill live on stage in front of an overflowing theatre, which was absolutely nerve-wracking because I just assumed it would be a small affair, not an actual full-size theatre that had people standing in the aisles because there was that many people there. But yeah, so yeah, stuff like that I'll live with me. And obviously, geez, I can't forget Mr. Phil Sloman's Jim McLeod Must Die book,
Oh, yeah.
Getting presented that at another FCon when, I'm just standing there waiting to get my the latest Adam Neville book signed, and then suddenly I look up and I'm surrounded by all these people, and me being me went straight into fight or flight mode, and hands going into fist going, Jesus, why are they all standing there? Are they wanting to murder me? And getting presented with that book, and then Graham bloody Reynolds videoing them handing it over to me while I'm standing there like a blubbering wreck with tears flowing down my face.
I thought it was sweet. I saw that video.
I think everybody saw that video and everybody likes to remind me about it, but you know what? I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm an emotional guy.
I get emotional about things like that as well, because to be surprised with something that's been done for you that you had no idea about, it is really touching, and it's a lovely sort of like display of affection from people for you. So yeah, I can imagine. And well, every convention I've been to, I'm like, is Jim coming? Does anyone know if Jim's coming? And just so you know, at the most recent FCon, we were sat around talking about who wasn't there. I was like, oh, there's a bit of a hole. There are a few people missing, and you did come up, and we had a little toast.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that one where I couldn't go, and Laura Mauro made that little Jimmy doll of me, which
Yeah.
I still love and treasure. It's a bit dirty and not quite falling apart, but you can see he's been through the wars. But yeah, that was amazing. So obviously I don't have the same artistic talents as Laura, so I bought a polystyrene brick off Amazon and stuck some googly eyes on it and presented that to Laura when she came up for the one in Glasgow.
Yeah, you travelled via the little doll around for a for a little bit there. I remember back in the day, George Romero was coming to the UK for something, and there was some open opportunity to interview him, maybe via Skype or something. And I remember you posting that to us as the group, like, would anyone be interested in this if we can get a slot for it? And I was like, please, me, Jim, please, it has to be me, because everyone, if anyone's followed me for any length of time, you'll know I'm quite obsessed with zombies, and George Romero zombies in particular. And then he passed away.
I know, and the thing is, we actually had a slot. He actually wanted us to do it, and
I couldn't believe it. And for a while, I was still convinced it might happen, because I thought, if anyone can come back, it's George Romero, He invented the concept, basically. So, I remember telling my mum, I think I might actually get to talk to George Romero. She's like, oh my God. I was like, no.
Yeah.
He's passed away. She was like, well, what can you do? She was like, that's unfortunate. And obviously I was just very sad to hear that he'd passed, full stop. But opportunities like that for horror fans are amazing. And that was the friendships that I made through Ginger Nuts of Horror were I'm still friends with these people. And also when I did my first collection, I remember putting in the acknowledgements. I put you in the acknowledgements because I would never have met all of these people if it wasn't for my involvement with the site. Or maybe I would have later on, but you definitely gave me such a boost. You and Justin Park, because he was the one who also, he was like, why aren't you going to any book conventions? And I was like, there are book conventions? And he was like, oh my God, you never. And he was like, yes, there are several every year, Kayla. And I was like, so it was between you and Justin, you guys kind of introduced me to the entire indie horror space. You know, got me like, you know, made like all these introductions for me with other people. And it's, I always tell people it doesn't even feel like extended family to me. It feels like family, like people you live with,
Yeah.
even though you don't. Um, so yeah, I have to thank you for that, because I might have found my way into it at some point on my own, but I don't know, because I was so clueless about it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's been a while since I've been to a convention. I mean, a lot of it was down to my health issues with
mhm.
the chronic pain, which and then affected the mental health and everything. I just the thought of traveling anything sort of more than half an hour, 45 minutes, just filled me with dread. And to spend all that money getting there, and then ended up spending the whole weekend in my bed because I couldn't physically move.
Mhm.
I just couldn't put myself through that. So the only one I've really been going to is the one in Edinburgh, which is
Mhm.
in every first week in June, called Chimera, which is a fantastic event because you can either buy a full weekend pass, or if there's only say two events you want to go to, you can just buy a ticket for the two events. And I just basically do what I do at every convention, is hang about in the bar and just talk nonsense to people. But see, coming back from conventions, oh, I would hit the biggest low of my life. And it wasn't because of the convention, because I never really did anything at them. It was just coming away and knowing that I'm not going to see these amazing people for at least another year.
Yeah, I someone said to me at FantasyCon, he's like, "This is the happiest I've ever seen you." I was like, "I am my happiest at conventions, because I feel I'm surrounded by people where, even if I don't know all of these people, although I do know a lot of them now, but I feel the most comfortable and
Mhm.
like socially, like I'm quite uncomfortable in social situations
Yeah.
otherwise,
Uh-huh.
but not at book conventions, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like all of like my bookish friends get like understand me. Like,
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, even doing this fills me with dread because I'm your sort of classic loudmouth idiot who likes to sit at the back of the classroom, but as soon as you get asked to stand up and talk, it's like, oh God, no, please, no, don't ask me, don't ask me. Because I am. This is all smoke and mirrors. I am just a complete bundle of nerves. I may come across as but I'm more like, oh my God, please, no, 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 no.
yeah, well, I think a lot of us are the same though, Joe. I think that's why we
Mhm.
all get along so well, is because we all have a little bit of that in us. And I think that maybe creative types, and especially authors, are a bit more prone to that kind of social anxiety. From you
Yeah.
meet, it doesn't seem like it, because a lot of people are doing performative stuff at these conventions, but it's a lot of introverted people.
Mhm.
um so when we all get together and just bask in each other's weirdness, is really nice.
Yeah.
I'm determined to get up for that convention in Glasgow one of these years. I keep every year, I'm like, this is the year. But then, it's usually finances. I've got to decide which things I'm going to.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. When you look at the price to get to some of these conventions, and you think, wait a minute, I could get a week-long cruise in the Mediterranean for the same price. I mean, my partner is always at me. You need to stop looking at things in black and white when it comes to money. You enjoy it, so do it. But when you've also got a family, and it was different if the website made money and I could put that money aside to use that to go to conventions and network and do all this, that, and the next. But when it doesn't, and there's X amount of money coming into the household, you have to make the choice of what's going out to pay for other things. And yeah, because I think the big one this year, I'm looking at it, and it's like I can't afford 350 quid travel on a train down to Brighton. Then add on, what was it, £200 a night for the hotel, the
Oh
cost of
yeah.
the it's like no.
Yeah, the hotel for Worldcon is quite pricey, I will say, for the upcoming one in October this year. I usually prefer to stay in the con hotel because I'm like you, I have back problems. So if I drive for a few hours, I am definitely going to have a migraine by the time I get to the place. So I always go the day before because I know that that first night is probably going to be a write-off for me. So I always go the day before. So that's an extra night of hotel that I have to pay for. But yeah, this one I was like, oh, I'll get it earlier, try get to the hotel, and then I saw the cost of it. I was like, I do not want to spend £1,000
No, no.
on a hotel. I was like, I will find somewhere in walking distance so that I can slip out if I need to have a lie down.
See, that's the thing. If you don't know the area, it's so hard. You know, yeah, you could get a cheap hotel, but is it a dive? Is it this? And there's too many. I'm not a man that likes to play the odds. I need to know that I've got a clear sort of winning strategy. And because there has been times I have picked the most horrible hotels. Oh, there was one. It was at the FCon in Derby. For some reason, I don't know why, they got me to organise the non-convention hotel. And I picked this hotel. It was, don't get me wrong, it was a nice hotel, but I thought it was a 5-minute walk away, and it was a 50-minute walk away. You know, I can't. I've told everyone, look, I can't read maps. I don't know why you're getting me to pick one. So yeah, I don't think that one went down too well. But yeah, I mean, the last one I was at, I think, was in Birmingham, and my hotel was just a 10-minute walk away, and that was fine, apart from walking back to it in Birmingham at 3 o'clock in the morning. Even for someone like me, that was, oh, this is a bit scary.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not used to places like that. You know, I grew up in St Andrews. I live in Pennycook, which is a tiny wee town outside of Edinburgh. You know, the countryside's a 10-minute walk from my house. I'm not used to crowds. I've never liked crowds, and I was like, I don't like this at all.
I'm a few minutes away from the Con Hotel this year, but I'm going to park at the hotel because last year I did buy some, but I was given so many books.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, walking
people know
back
for
to your
weeks.
hotel was like, oh my God, come on.
Penny Jones was laughing at me when I was on checkout day because it took me 3 trips from my room to my car to get all the books into, and she was like, I was like, I should have taken her advice and just put them in my car as I was getting them through the day, since it was right next to the hotel. But I thought, oh, it'll be fine.
I mean, the one in Derby, I made the foolish. Well, it sounded like a brilliant idea at the time, but I didn't think it through. As we actually flew, got the airplane, and then going back, I'm not getting on this airplane with all these books. What am I going to do here? And I had to sit there and make the decision in the hotel room of which ones to leave behind. And it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I've seen there's a couple of people that fly in and like, oh, do you want to swap books? Well, can I give you this? And they're like, I'd love to take it, but I have to fly and there's a weight limit, so I can't. Yes. Oh, the logistics. Have you got to speak to, I know you mentioned a few people earlier, but people in the horror field that you're a fan of, do you have a favorite one that you've got to actually speak with or interview or meet because of the website?
That's a difficult one. I mean, yeah, Joe Hill was amazing, but I'm not his biggest fan, if you know what I mean. I appreciate what he does, but yeah, it was amazing. Oh God, I'm interviewing Joe Hill, you know, the second biggest horror author that's alive. But I don't know. God, I should have thought about questions like this before I even came on here, shouldn't I? I'm terrible.
I didn't, Jim. I've just been winging it this whole time. There's no way that you could have known, because I didn't know what I was going to ask you. I was going to prepare, but I thought, oh, I think it's going to come naturally as I'm going, and it has. So.
Oh God, I might have to come back. I'll need to think about that.
Well, that's okay. I love Joe Hill, and the thought of him turning up anyway makes me really excited, because I'm a fan. I started reading him in recent years, and I really like his stuff. So I'd probably just be an idiot, though. Do you? I'm going to assume that you're cooler than me when you meet people that you're a fan of, though, because I've embarrassed myself in front of a lot of people.
Oh God, no, no, Jesus. The first convention I went to was the one in York, the FCon in York, and Simon Clark was standing there, and I happened to, I can't remember who I was standing next to. Go, oh God, it's Simon Clark! I'm such a huge fan of him. Go over and speak to him, and I'm like, no, I can't. And I slowly sidled away, sort of walk, you Simpson walking backwards through the hedge, sort of thing, going, no. I won't want to make a complete tit of myself in front of one of my all-time favourite horror authors. But then a few years later, he ended up in a hotel room with Lisa Warren, and he got slightly drunk on Buckfast. So yeah, things change as you grow and get to meet people.
Well, Simon's a lovely person as well.
Yes.
He's the most approachable. I met him at FantasyCon last year, and I had stars in my eyes and stuff, but I was trying to be professional because he sent in a story. We invited him into an anthology I was co-editing, and so I'd already spoken to him via email. But that doesn't ever seem to matter to me because when I actually see people face to face, I never know what way it's going to go for me. I might be normal, like a normal person, or I might start crying. Who knows?
Yeah.
Ramsey Campbell was one for me where I saw him all weekend at ChillerCon, and Justin was like, and I'd taken books for him to sign, and Justin was like, go on, go, just go over. He's very friendly, just go over, he'll sign your books. And I think that what I actually said on the last day, like I could see him putting his coat on to leave with his wife, and I think I went over and I actually said, Mr. Ramsey, I don't mean to bother you, but and he was so sweet to me, bless him. But yeah, the next time I saw him, I don't think he remembered me from that, thankfully. So I had a second opportunity at a first impression.
See, my initial meeting with Ramsey was put him in a different light. It was funny. I was at the toilet doing my business, and then all I heard was the door open and someone loudly singing some weird operatic song at the top of their lungs. I'm going, who the hell is that? Turn around and there's Ramsey Campbell just singing away as he walks into the gents' room. I thought, okay, right, that's set myself at ease here. That's a nice introduction. Because it's like, Jesus Christ, it's fucking Ramsey Campbell, it's...
Yeah, you do get a bit, because I've been reading Ramsey since I was a teenager, so it is quite surreal to suddenly be on friendly, we know each other terms a few years later. Also for any authors or book fans, readers that haven't been to any of these conventions, these kinds of meetings aren't just like specific to me and Jim because we have websites. Like if you go to these things, you will get to meet
oh yeah,
a lot of the heroes, because it's not like other conventions like Comic-Con and HorrorCon where you have to queue at someone's table and pay to meet them. Everyone's just kind of milling around the hotel and the bar and the venue, and so you'll just, they're just there, and you can just, go up to people, which is, I mean, I didn't on my first one. I was too shy. I embarrassed myself every day of ChillerCon. I made an idiot of myself with everyone I talked to pretty much, but it's fine.
See, I was lucky for my very first one. Mark West was there, and Mark West knows everybody. He's one of the nicest guys in horror, and he will he'll lead you over by the hand to go, this is Jim, and introduce you. So yeah, it was nerve-wracking going down, but having someone like Mark there was brilliant. And there's always someone, there's a market. I mean, there is only one Mark West, but there is always a Mark West there, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah. There's a few people that always introduce me to loads of people at these conventions, and and if I know it's an author's first convention at one I'm at now, I try to introduce them to the people I know, because it's when you first turn up to your first one by yourself and you don't know anyone in real life, you've just talked to them on Facebook or something, it is a little bit daunting because everyone's like sat around in groups or whatever, and but then you realize it's really not cliquey at all.
No,
It's
no,
just
not at all.
Yeah, they're a fun time. Do you have any? You don't have to tell us what, but do you have any ideas for like anything you want to add to Ginger Nuts? Are you planning to? Are you keeping it as is, or do you have any like crazy lofty ideas for it for the future?
I've been working on a few ideas, but I just seem to be getting stuck in the middle of it. Sort of like, say like the one that was sort of the prototype idea, and I'm stuck in the middle because I just don't know where to take it. Even the only thing is it's in my head, but I can't get it out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like looking at an inherent problem of horror in terms of storytelling, but using a non-horror entity to explain what the problem is.
Mhm.
The one that I was thinking that I'm sort of stuck on is using modern Doctor Who. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of modern Doctor Who. I'm not one of these, oh, it's not my Doctor, blah, 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 nonsense. I've loved every Doctor, even the terrible ones from when it was first out. There's always something to love, no matter how, especially towards the end of the original sort of run, you could see that the BBC didn't want it anymore and they were deliberately trying to kill it with some really terrible storylines. But then towards the final run of Sylvester McCoy, I think is still amongst one of the best runs of Doctor Who all time. And I was using that to link to why, and I don't think there should ever be any more than 2 sequels to a horror movie. And it's all about the more you know about the character, the less impact it has. Now, my big issue with modern Who is we don't need to know who the Doctor is. We don't need to know his backstory and this whole convoluted thing about him not being a Time Lord, but being the progenitor of the Time Lords or something like that. I sort of tuned out at that because he's the Doctor. That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
And it's the same with there is no horror villain apart from maybe Pinhead and Freddy Krueger. The more you know, you don't gain anything from it. The Halloween films, if you take away Halloween 3, which I think is the best of the bunch, I know someone will probably kill me for saying that, but if you say go Halloween 1, 2, 4, you're not getting it. There's no new story. There's nothing. All you're getting is just a different kill. That's all you're getting. You're in. It lessens the impact to go, oh, here he comes. He's got a machete again. Oh, what's he going to kill? Oh, he's using a rubber duck this time. Whoa, and they're just tired, dull, boring. Just especially when there's so much more horror there that could be adapted. Why are we retreading this ground? So I'm trying to get this into this whole article that the biggest failing of modern Doctor Who is we know too much about him.
Yeah, I agree.
The companions were there just basically to sort of help move the story on. We don't need all this big, massive interrelationship stuff, which started with Rose Tyler and all that. It's unnecessary and it gets in the way of just telling a simple, basic story. And all this timey-wimey nonsense did my head in. There's never been like an overacting storyline in modern Doctor Who that's actually been pulled off. The whole Bad Wolf thing, I thought, is that it? They've just gone through time and graffitied Bad Wolf on a wall. What's the point of that? You were expecting some big, massive... There's never been a good payoff from Doctor Who, so I've been trying to use that to why there's never a big payoff in any horror movie past the third entry in a series, apart from when they go into space. I've got to admit, I love Leprechaun in space and Hellraiser in space. In fact, know what? I've actually just shot myself in the foot because Jason X is probably one of the best films of that whole franchise. But
well, there are exceptions, but generally, I agree with you. I'm so sick of seeing the thing at the moment seems to be we're making another sequel and we're bringing back the original cast, even though there's no plausible story reason to do it.
Yeah.
And it's blatant fan service, and the original fans don't even want it. So the one I saw recently that everyone's losing their minds over is they've confirmed Matthew Lillard for the next Scream film. And
it makes no. I'm just not interested in it at all.
I saw that and I thought, well, we didn't technically see that he was definitely dead, so they could do that. But then I heard they're also bringing back Skeet Ulrich, and I was like, Well, he got shot in the head, and I was like, let me guess. Stu's been in a mental asylum this whole time, and he's talking to Billy, and that's how they're gonna like. I will eat my own face if that's not what they're doing. I bet you anything that's what they're doing, and I just thought, yeah, I loved Scream 1, and then I just thought, but after that, it is just new people in a ghost face.
Yeah, there is no plot development whatsoever. You're not getting anything else out of that very good, amazing, brilliant storyline and pitch. Other than that, you're just retreading the same ground. There's nothing in it. And it's this whole thing. He can't come back because he was stabbed. But he's dead. There's nobody comes back from a wound like that.
Stabbed multiple times and then had a TV thrown on his head.
Yeah, it's like that film by McFlanagan. Was it Hush?
Oh, Hush, yeah.
The deaf woman that gets hounded by the guy that's invading her home.
Yeah.
I wanted to smash the TV after watching that. It's like, Chris, the guy got shot in the shoulder, fell off a 3-story building, and he gets straight back up and goes, no problem.
A normal person. I do think, yeah.
I'm finger in a door, and I'm like, oh, that's me off for the day.
Oh,
and
yeah.
She got her hand crushed completely.
If I stuck
crushed hand, and she's using it as though it's like, no, Jesus. Sorry, I get passionate about things like this.
That's okay. I was gonna say, if I stub my toe, I won't even carry on chasing the cat.
Yeah, so, I was like, oh no, fuck it, that's it.
Like,
off you go, no problem. Yeah, like, I mean, it's like
fate telling me to stop.
I can accept bad physics in Star Wars because that's in the universe, and if that's the laws of physics in the Star Wars universe, that's fine.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start setting things in our universe, it has to abide by our laws.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's
fantasy, no problem, yeah, because magic doesn't exist, but in that universe it does. I don't need to know the physics of it.
Yeah.
Or anything like that.
Yeah, as long as
that's it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're getting shot in the shoulder by a crossbow bolt and then falling 50 feet, you're not getting back up and going, right, okay, another day at the office, here we go.
Your dog agrees, I can tell by the look on its face.
Hello, Pat. The other one's lying on the floor in front of him.
I have 2 last questions for you, Jim.
Okay.
So, for people who want to I'll start that question again. For people who want to request a book review for Ginger Nuts of Horror, what do they do? I know the answer, but apparently some people need to know.
If you go to the features page of the contact page of the website, all the instructions are there, and it is just simply filling in a form and emailing it to jimmcleod@gnofhorror.com. All I need to know is the author's name, the title, roughly how many pages, if there is any trigger warnings. It's basically just and the synopsis of the book, the back cover synopsis. I call it a back cover synopsis. Apparently it got torn apart by someone a few months ago because it's not called a synopsis, it's called something else.
It's not called a blurb.
Yeah, a blurb, yeah. It's like,
it's not called a blurb, guys. A blurb.
Some American person called it a blurb and decided to call me an idiot because I called it a synopsis.
It is a synopsis.
Yes. But you know what? Sometimes, you just have to let the idiots talk. Or at least
for people who are confused, a blurb is when another author gives you a quote. The quotes that tell people that the book is great, those are blurbs. The back cover thing is a synopsis.
Yes, but according to this person, a blurb is a cover quote.
No. No. Okay.
No.
The last thing is, if somebody wants to contribute to Ginger Nuts of Horror, how do they get in touch with you to pitch you something?
Again, just drop me an email, jimmcleod@gnofhorror.com. Just let me know what you want to do and we'll chat. I'm open to almost anything and everything.
Almost. I'm going to find the thing that you say no to. Pitching you nut stuff. Well, thank you again for doing this, Jim. This has been like a personal highlight for me because we've never got to have like a good full conversation. So this was a really selfish, self-serving video in some ways.
Brilliant.
But yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, thanks again for sort of kicking me off and getting me started with Everyburn and everything in indie horror, and for all of the great website content. I love there's so much on there. I'm still reading. I've got like stuff I'm catching up with. But there's so much there to enjoy. So yeah, for anyone who somehow hasn't come across Ginger Nuts of Horror, I will be putting the link in the description, of course, so you can just go straight there and check it out. But yeah, thanks for doing this, Jim, and maybe I can get you back for part 2.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime, Kaylee. This has been brilliant, and it's been fantastic to finally get to chat with you.
Yes.
Christ, I remember pointing out to my daughter years and years ago, goes, I know her, when you were on that, what was it, Don't Tell the Bride?
Oh, yeah.
With your, it was a pirate costume, wasn't it, if I remember right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a bridesmaid, and yeah, I forgot about that. I always forget that I've been on TV. It was a surreal experience.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yes. Well, make sure to say hello to Cathala for me. I'll say hello. Cool. Well, we will sign off for everybody now with our general bleaty goodbye. So we'll see you next time, everybody, and bleed.
Thank you, Kaylee.